This video is designed for nursing staff to show you all the different ways that you can record babies' footprint cards. These footprint cards are designed for the Mater Hospital's Bereavement program, and the boxes are supplied by the Paper Angels group of independent Stampin' Up demonstrators. You can see a couple of cards in front of you now. This actually was our original design. We've recently changed the card to include the butterflies on the side, and the reason that we've created the cards in these dimensions is so that they can fit within the SIDS booklets that are also provided by the bereavement program to the parents. I'll just show you what is in the box that you should have at the hospital in order to complete the footprint cards. The Paper Angels have already completed the base card, so that includes the butterflies that are actually stitched on to the page and the backing mat. And there's two colours, there's pink or blue. We then have a series of blank cards, and these are the cards which the baby's footprints are stamped onto, and once you're happy with the stamp on that paper, then you can adhere it onto that sheet. That just gives you the opportunity, if a mistake is made, you can have another go. Now, this is actually adhered on using a snail adhesive, and I'll show you how to use that shortly. It's important with the snail adhesives to know that once you've finished this, you don't throw the case out. This black piece here is retained. It's only the clear section that comes off and is thrown away once it's finished. And then these pieces here are the refills. So you just take them out of the package, remove the piece of yellow paper, and they snap in and are ready to use. They're really simple to pop in. So that's the snail. The other thing that you will find inside the boxes are two inks. Now, these are craft inks, and the reason that we've chosen craft ink is so that it's easy to wipe off baby's feet using a wipe. So it won't leave any ink colour on the baby's feet at all. I'll show you how to open the ink pads. Basically, all you do is actually push at one end of the ink pad to slide it open, and then with the other end, lift it up and rotate it around, and then push it back into position, and the ink pad's ready to use. The other thing that you'll find in here is a heat gun, and that's for drying the footprints on the cardstock, or in fact, if you choose to emboss the footprints, you'll also need to use the heat gun. We've got clear embossing powder, an embossing buddy, and some ink refills for the ink pads. So let's have a go at actually doing a footprint card. I'll just move these things aside here. And we'll take out, we've got our base card. We'll put that aside. We also need our 10 centimetres square of white cardstock. I'm just going to be using a footprint stamp as my baby's feet today. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can ink these up. So you can actually use the ink pad directly, and you can actually tap that onto the stamp or onto the baby's feet, like so. And then taking your piece of cardstock, you would bring that up to the feet, place it on top, gently press. Of course, you'll probably be doing 1 foot at a time, and then taking it off, and you get left with the footprints. Now, with the baby's feet, they can be easily cleaned up using a baby wipe. So just take the baby wipe, and there'll be no ink left there whatsoever. It's a little bit harder for me with the stamp here, but on an actual baby's foot, you'll be able to wipe it off quite easily using a baby wipe. Now, I'd just like to share another alternative for inking up the baby's feet. If you're a little bit concerned about the condition of the baby's skin and applying the ink pad directly, the other thing that you could actually do would be to take a disposable sponge, and you can actually pop the ink onto there from the ink pad, or you could actually take the refill bottle and put a little bit of ink onto your disposable sponge, and then using that you would then pat the ink on, thus not creating any sort of cross-contamination if you're a little bit concerned about that. I think it's really got to depend on the individual circumstances. So once you have actually stamped the feet, and as I say, you've got a few opportunities to get that right, you can then just use the heat gun to dry the footprints off. So we're just going to quickly do that, and then I'm just going to show you another way that you can record the footprints, and that's using embossing. So we'll just plug our heat gun in. I'm just going to wave the heat gun across the ink just to dry that ink out. So craft ink is a little bit like paint, and the heat gun just helps to speed up the drying time. So to finish this off, all I would do would be to take the snail, and I would apply a couple of little tabs of snail to the back of that cardstock, and then that would actually adhere down to the card and it would be complete. I now just want to show you how to emboss the footprint, because we have had a few comments that there are some families that have requested embossing, or indeed nurses that feel they can do it. It's not as complicated as it might sound, and hopefully after you see me do it you'll realise how easy it is. So I'll just grab another piece of a square of cardstock, and this time I'm going to prepare the cardstock by rubbing over it with an embossing buddy. The embossing buddy just takes away any residue of oil from your fingertips, so that when I apply the powder, it only sticks to the ink. And what I'm going to do is again ink up the footprints. So I'll ink the feet up. And I will apply the cardstock to the feet. And then pull it away, and again we've got the wet footprints there. At this point I just take a little piece of scrap paper, pop it underneath, and we'll take our clear embossing powder, and you tip the powder over the footprints like so, and then you could actually, instead of even using that paper, just tip it straight back into the container, but if there's any excess on the paper it'll be easy to pop back in there. So that clear embossing powder has actually stuck to the ink, and when we heat it with the heat gun you'll actually notice that the powder will turn to, it looks like a type of enamel, and it is much more permanent and probably longer lasting than actually just drying the footprints off alone. So off we go with the heat gun. Be careful to keep your finger away from the heat gun because it will burn you. You'll know when the footprints are embossed because they will actually take on a shiny finish, sort of like a wet sort of look, and they will actually be darker than the footprints that have just been dried off without embossing powder. And oddly enough, they're actually faster to do. So I would give that a go, and I think you'll be very, very happy with the result. So finishing that off, again, we'll just, and that dries very quickly. I can run my hand over that now and it's fine. So we'll turn it over and we'll put a little bit of snail tape on the back. And we'll just adhere that to the centre of the card. Okay, and that's how you complete the footprint card. Thank you.